everyone, for today's card I'm using the Art Impressions Kathy Caffeine stamp that I'd shown in a haul video a while ago, and I'd stamped her onto some CC Designs Copic Quality 80-pound cardstock with my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm using the cues from the stamp packaging because it comes with the image already colored. And the one thing I really like about that is they don't do any blending on the image. That's just the way it's colored in. And that's something I still struggle with, especially using my Copic markers, is not blending, like leaving a little bit harsher lines to show the shading and shadow and whatnot. And I like the look of it. I have a really hard time doing it. So, it makes it a lot easier to kind of follow their cues and to see where to place the shadows and just where to leave it unblended. So the only blending I really did was on her cheeks there, just to get that kind of blush look, because that would just kind of look weird if you didn't blend it out. But then the rest of it, I did not blend at all. I would just lay down a lighter color and then I'd go in and add some darker areas with a darker color Copic marker, and pretty much using only two colors for the lighter and darker areas instead of doing, at least three and blending and all that fun stuff. So one, it makes an image go a lot faster when you're coloring, and two, it just gives it, I don't know, it works with these images too. It just, yeah, I can't really say much more about it. So I kept it pretty simple because, again, the image itself is fairly simple. The most coloring was the Java cup, mostly because with an more open space, you kind of want it to be the color like flat and blended. You don't want a bunch of streaky marks on it. So I kind of blended just that one color a little bit and then added my little bit of darker orange. And yeah, I'm using my basic gray Persimmon pattern paper pack again as my inspiration, because I used it on the card I had posted yesterday. I think it was yesterday, yeah. And yeah, I'm kind of obsessed with just this color combo and those papers. So this is actually the third video I've filmed using them, but the second one I've had time to upload. So just kind of following the cues from that. You notice I left her shirt completely blank. I paper pieced it before I started filming. I just stamped it onto one of the pattern papers and trimmed it out, which you're going to see just in a few seconds here. But I wanted to get all the coloring done first. So I got everything colored the way I wanted it, added a little bit of shading just with my W1 Copic marker, just so that it's kind of standing out just a little bit. And then, yeah, grabbed her little paper pieced shirt, which I purposely chose this one. I don't know, I just kind of remind me of that ugly sweater stamp that I've got too. So I kind of wanted it to be a little bit funky and just different. So I just used my Tombow Monomulti to adhere that into place. And then I took my W3 Copic marker, which shows up a little bit better on pattern paper, and then added in that little bit of shading in that so that the pattern paper kind of blends in a little bit more and isn't just like a stark contrast to all the coloring. So yeah, it didn't take very long to color this image, that's for sure, especially when, yeah, you can follow the cues from the packaging. And then really, once you're comfortable with it, you can kind of branch out and start doing whatever color combos you want. So once I was done with that, I matted it with some My Favorite Things Night Shift Blue cardstock. I was going to do black, but then I went with the blue because, again, it goes with that pattern paper. And then I cut down a piece of the stripe pattern paper and then a piece of MFT Tangy Orange cardstock. And I don't know, I had it in my head that I wanted to round one of the corners, so I just used my corner chomper and rounded just the upper left corner there. And then I grabbed some ribbon. This is just some May Arts seam binding ribbon. It's a little bit darker than the orange, but you can totally get away with that on a card like this. It actually kind of works not to have it exactly matchy-matchy. Again, even though I talk about my OCD, I can totally get away with doing things like this. It actually gives it a little bit extra definition in my opinion. So tape that around the card front, and then I wanted a bow, but rather than cutting a hole in the main image and threading all the ribbon through and tying a bow, I did this on another card that I didn't do a video for, but I marked two little spots with a pen and then just used a regular hole punch and punched a couple holes so that I can thread the ribbon through and tie it in a bow. So you could do this one of two ways. You could do it this way, or you could tie a bow and adhere it with like a hot glue gun or something, but my thing with that is with ribbon, it doesn't stay adhered very well to paper. Hot glue is usually the best, and like maybe a red line type adhesive, but even then it's kind of iffy that it's going to stay on there. So by punching the holes and threading the ribbon through, it's secure. It's not coming off. So got that into place, and then for the sentiment, I had originally stamped it and embossed it with some white embossing powder, but I didn't like the look of it. If I'd used the darker blue, like the Night Shift blue cardstock, that probably would have worked, but I wanted to use this lighter blue cardstock, so I stamped it again just with the black, and then die cut it with one of my circle dies, and got that how I wanted it. So I'm going to adhere that to my card front, and this is, I think this is old Stampin' Up! Bashful Blue ink. I'm not even sure. I would have to double check. But yeah, it was in my stash and it was the right shade of blue to go with the pattern paper. So I adhered that, and then I'm going to adhere the card front to my card base, which is the same blue cardstock. And yeah, standard A2 size card, so 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I wanted to add a few embellishments, but I didn't have any enamel dots, which I'm obsessed with, by the way, that would match these papers. So I decided to make my own, and rather than go with circles, I decided to do a few hearts. And the easiest way to do that is I just punched out some hearts from the same color as a cardstock, and then you just add a coat of glossy accents to it. So it's up to you how much you want to add. If you really want like a really thick, glossy look, I recommend doing it in layers and letting them dry, just because it will warp them. But I am impatient and kind of lazy, so I had done just a really thick coat and then set them aside. Well, not set them aside, I just left my desk and went and did other things around the house to let them dry, because it takes a good couple hours at least to let these dry. But you can see here that it did warp them, so I just really gently kind of bent them back to flatten them out a little bit more. And again, you do have to be gentle with that, because otherwise it can just crack. So that's why if you do want it thick, try not to be as lazy as me and do it in layers. But it worked, so I've got my own little custom enamel hearts to add to this, and that's why I went with the hearts, because I thought it works with, you know, big old cup of coffee and a straw. Why not? That's just how it should be. So once I was done with that, I took my clear Wink of Stella and just added a little bit of shimmer to her earring and to the label on the Java cup. And then I went on to the inside of the card, which was the same pattern paper as I used on her shirt, so I've got some continuity. And then just inked up the stamp again with the same light blue ink as the cardstock. I was going to go with my favorite thing, Snow Cone ink, which is kind of my go-to for insides of cards. But I thought I might as well use the same shade of blue as the cardstock. So just stamp that, and it's light enough that you can write over it with a ballpoint pen. And then I'd matted it with the same tangy orange and added one more little enamel heart. And I'm going to adhere that to the inside of my card, and that's all there is to it. So as always, I will post a link right below the video to my blog post, and in there I'll have links to all the supplies used and all that kind of fun stuff. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. Bye!